And we just applied them and we tripled our agency basically in the last 3 months. Yeah. It was not even scary. It was frustrating because you're like, hey, I know how things need to be done. I'm confident things are working. But then it just happened that you can't, like everything just change and break.
So, hey everyone, this is Kyle Hunt, the founder of Agency Operators Level Up, and we help agency owners to build lean and profitable, low stress agencies through operational excellence. And today's guest is someone that I genuinely really love working with. He is one of the most positive agency owners that I know, and he's always super happy on our calls. And his name is Bogdan, and he's the co-founder of GrowthHub. And thanks for joining us, Bogdan.
Thank you. Thank you, Kyle. I'm excited to be here. I love to work with you as well.
Thanks, man. So your team has been doing some really incredible work in the UGC creative vertical. And the headline on your site is even get bigger ads that scale with your brand, which I love. And it's been awesome to support you and your team as they've grown. And I want to get right into this for our audience. Let's start with your origin story. So what made you want to start Growth Hub and how did all that begin?
Yeah. So basically, I was a freelance filmmaker, and then I had one of my best friends was a media buyer, and he had some clients, and he was like, creatives right now are start to become very important. So why don't we create some video ads for this client? And I was in a period of my life where I was working with good clients like Ferrari, Lamborghini, Fendi. And so I was happy, but I was working on the branding side, and I felt like I didn't get a number that could quantify the amount of value that I give to the clients, right? It was subjective. It was not objective. So I missed the marketing part. So basically, long story short, we just tried to create some ads, some creatives based on his experience. He was very experienced in media buying, and based on my experience on production. And also I was working in social media marketing. So I had an idea on how to make ads that people want to watch, want to pay attention. And we got lucky with the first one. Basically, we 7x his revenue. He was doing 40K a month in revenue, and he went in 2 months to 300K. And we were like, oh my God, that's awesome. And so of course we got lucky. First client to provide this great result was awesome. He became our first client, and then we start from there.
So you're working with some big brands and then you're like, let's try this performance thing. And then like you just hit it and you're off from there.
Yeah. And it just it was crazy. And yeah, and then we started to understand what worked, what didn't work. So we get lucky to hit the first one, and then we try to systematize and understand what was working, why, how is the industry evolving, because of course it's evolving a lot. What works best, and then we tailored our service to the things that work best for us or for our set of clients. Now we work with clients that are a little bit bigger, like 7-figure clients at least, to provide the best value. But yeah, I'm now enthusiastic to work because I can see the performance of the things that I do or my team does, right? So
Yeah. And
that's
it's
awesome.
like really high performance lately from what I see. So we just talked about like this rocket ship moment. Let's talk about the other side of that because you've been an agency owner for some time now. So what's a moment in your journey where maybe something was really difficult, but that also shaped you and made you stronger?
Yeah, so at the beginning when we started, I was like doing everything, creative strategies, editor, finding creators, and so on. So
Mhm.
then when we basically we validated our system and we provide the results, we started to get more clients. Then I had to transfer this to a team, right? So that was challenging, and it was not it was a completely different set of skills and set of knowledge that I didn't even know was a thing, or I thought it was much more simple. And that's where things start to get a little more rough, or also emotionally, because you're like, why this not working? Is this the right person? Maybe it's not the right person. Maybe this is not the right system. Maybe it's like all these questions, and you have no idea because I didn't know anything about operations and how to manage this. So yeah, it was tough.
Yeah. So you had to move from this doer mentality to a manager and a leader mentality, but you've never done it before. So it was like super scary.
Yeah, yeah. It was like, it was not even scary. It was frustrating because you're like, hey, I know how things need to be done. I'm confident things are working. But then it just happened that you can't, like everything just change and breaks. And to not to not let your clients with bad results, I just have to go in and fix everything and make sure that everything goes well, right? So
Mhm.
that ethically that's the right choice. But ideally, ideally, I wish I could have started working with you and get to know like from the start how to build an agency, how to make things work, and how to have people that are even better than me. Because now I can say that some people are better than me in some stuff, and that's the goal, right?
Mhm.
So that we create a system that works.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the long-term vision, and something that I think is important for agency owners is how do you replace yourself at every single level? And the answer to that is usually hiring people who are better than you and making sure that they have a really great process to make even better.
Uh-huh.
So that's pretty awesome. And then we just talked about a low. Let's talk about the opposite end of this. So what's been working really well for you guys? And then why do you think that it's working really well in this particular moment?
Yes. Well, many things have been working well. So we started to really understand how we can provide value to a certain type of client, right? So also this helped a lot in both acquiring clients, getting their attention, and getting them results. So that was really good. We are focusing now on some formats that are a little more complex for them to do, like for example, podcast ads or street interviews or type of viral things,
Hmm.
and those are working really well. And of course, these are just forms, but we try to execute in a way that that get the best results because most of the thing are strategic, but the clients already know that how to advertise his product, how to market his product. That's up to him, of course. He knows, he's the expert. We can help him just execute better because it's difficult for them also seven-figure e-com or SaaS that advertise on Facebook. You don't have a big internal team.
Hmm.
What we try to do is to create system that can do that. And yeah, we got some great case studies, and it just happened that sometimes you just hit hard and you get those big growth moments, 3x like in a couple months. And some other times it's just steady growth and you just help to get better performance. And yeah, and this also meant expanding and
Hmm.
adjusting things and improving things. So yeah, it was
So you went really deep on the type of customer that you wanted to work with. You
uh
found some formats that worked really well, and then you just like hammered them in. You're like, we're just going to do these things at massive volume and take a lot of these big swings, and it's been working for you.
Yeah, yeah. That's I think that's the main thing. Like really getting clarity on what we can deliver for which type of client, which type of brand,
Hmm.
and yeah, that's one of the like there are so many things going on, but yeah, that could be a summary.
And I think it's that focus that's kind of differentiated you from maybe some other people who are out there. You're trying to do so many things. Having that knowledge where you're like, if we only focus on these things and do these things really well, then we'll be able to succeed is important.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then it's easier on paper to say let's do everything for everybody, but then in terms of operations and make things work systematically, that's the worst. You can't be like everything for everyone. So if we nail down our system, our procedures, the way we do things, what we do, why we do this, when we do it, why we do this right now, right? You can get like a better understanding on how make things work systematically.
Yeah, now you're talking my language, bro. Process. Um, so growth always comes with pains anytime you're growing because there's new things you have to learn. What are some of the biggest bottlenecks that you were feeling before we started working together?
Yeah, so like the biggest bottleneck is actually was for me was not knowing, not having clarity or thinking I had clarity,
Yeah.
but I didn't know what I didn't know. So um, that lack of knowledge and that lack of clarity will make you go very slow because you are splitting your focus into many different things that are not important, or you're doing stuff that is that does not help you. While having an understanding how to hire, who to hire, when to hire, how to train, how to onboard talents, how to onboard clients, how to um, put the right KPI for the clients, how to manage certain type of calls, you know. I think I had it figured out, but I didn't have 10 years of experience managing an 8-figure agency, so there was something to learn there.
Yeah. So making sure that you had clarity on the right things because you thought you did, but you actually didn't. And then understanding how to really build a team because you've never really built a team before. And then making sure that you had metrics to make sure things are going smooth and things are going really well from a team perspective and a client perspective really helps you.
Yeah, yeah, and everything, all these pieces within a philosophy, within a system also works because I can look up how to create a good JD, you know, on ChatGPT, but then
Mhm.
it doesn't fit within the system. You know, there
Yeah.
are many books and many organizations are doing way different. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's an interesting point. And somebody brought this up to me yesterday, or excuse me, last week about AI and ChatGPT and creating process. And there's a lot of competing process creation tools and methodologies out there. And ChatGPT or AI in general is just going to give you the most average one that they think is going to work. And the answers are often even competing. So like you're not going to get the same answers from ChatGPT in its current state anyway. So that's super interesting. So let's talk about some things that have changed since we started working together. What are some of the biggest shifts that you've seen operationally or maybe team wise in your day to day for your team, and maybe even like your agency's revenue or profit or some sort of metrics too?
yeah. So the first thing would be having an understanding of what good looks like in terms of profits, in terms of revenue, how we should allocate certain resources to different part of the team. Like, okay, the delivery should be something like this, operation should be something like that. You know, it's been a lot of clarity, but my day to day changed a lot and continues to change. So now I have, for example, weekly report with pod leads, with creative strategists, and where we see when we look for certain KPIs, and if those KPIs are met, I can live with a little bit less stress because without that, it was a little more day to day or just trying to understand the situation. And at the end of the day, probably in the long run, this would change a lot. In the short run, you don't have like this big, massive difference, but like the big, massive difference is in your emotional state and what you can focus on. And as a founder, I'm trying to grow the agency, to improve the agency. So it's super important that I work on the right stuff. And a simple thing like the weekly report, for example, with all my pod leads or the key people done in a certain way, help me focus more on the important things and make sure that everything goes well.
So like having the structure and the process and the metrics and everything helps your ability to think long term because you're not firefighting as much as you used to and things are feeling better from like a stress perspective.
Exactly. So many things like calculating inputs instead of results. Like but before we were trying to understand how to achieve objectives, right? While right now we take that in consideration, but what we track and what we put down on paper are the inputs that can let us achieve that results, right? And it seems like so simple, but whenever you go and dig down in each department, in each little thing, it just started to work and to make sense. And sometimes it's just tough to do everything at once, but yeah, that's huge.
Awesome, man. So Bogdan, so since we've been working together, what are some of the results that you've had?
Yes, results were huge in the last. So basically, when we started to work together, I asked you a couple of things also about how to acquire customer and how to not how to acquire customer, but how to improve our tactics, let's say, or strategies to acquire customers. And then we discuss about couple key points, and we just applied them, and we tripled our agency basically in the last 3 months. So that was insane. We just unlocked some key things. We were doing everything correct. We just were missing a couple pieces, right? We applied them, and I mean, boom! It was great. It was insane. And that led to a lot of problems in operations, but happy problems that we are fixing. And I mean, a lot of chaos that we are now improving.
That's cool. So you already had a great system in place for lead gen, but you just needed someone to come in and say, well, what if we did this like 1 or 2 degrees different and change these minor things and small doors, small hinges swing big doors, and small changes can make a really big impact.
Yeah, yeah. In our case, it was exactly that because we were doing a lot of things correct, but you just adjust the last two things and then you just get disproportionately, results for that.
Awesome. Well, it's been exciting to be a part of that growth story, and I'm really happy that I'm able to be a part of it with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's switch gears a little bit. If you could go back, because now you've grown substantially. Like I think you've tripled in revenue or something since we've been working in the past
Yeah.
few months together. If you could go back and give a past version of yourself, like pre working with me, one piece of advice, what would it be?
Yeah. If I have to give an advice to myself before working with you, right?
What would you say?
I would say start to work with guys sooner.
I'll make sure that's in the recording. It's there forever.
Exactly. No, really. I mean, that's a huge difference, and you just getting coached. You know what? One thing that is super important, I think I discovered lately was like, okay, I have an awesome creative strategist, but without me as a creative director right now, coaching him or managing him, he couldn't get those results that he now can get, right, by himself. It's the same with the founder. Like, I don't have anyone to tell me how to do my job. And that's for every founder out there, right? You're alone, maybe with a co-founder, but it's not the same thing, right? You need to have some manager or someone above you or someone, whatever you want to say it. But in this case, it's a coach that can guide you and just help you get things done faster and solve your problems. The same way you build your structure in your agency. Like that's how it works, I guess. That's a big learning.
I love that. So just like the team members that you're working with need to be coached, so does every founder need to be coached as well.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely true. Super
I think
important.
the analogy I've used before too is like a sports analogy, which doesn't always perfectly work, but if you think about the highest performing sports people in the world, whether it's soccer or basketball or whatever sport that you're into, they have like 10 given coaches at any time. Like basketball, people will have a head coach, they'll have a shooting coach, they'll have a weight training coach, they'll have a nutritionist coach. They have like so many different coaches at the same time. And then you as a founder expect yourself to just succeed without help. And like, how
Yeah.
does that make any sense?
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And it doesn't even you don't even think about that at that moment. You're maybe because it's all relative and you're like, oh no, I'm doing fine, I'm doing great. No, you're not.
Like there's so much more that you could do. And like one of my favorite clients, Alicia from Persuasion Experience, she's like, Kyle helps me do fewer dumb things. Like that's her motto is like, I just want to do, if I do like 1 or 2 fewer dumb things every single month, he's like, Kyle is like worth 100x the investment.
Yeah, correct. I agree with that.
Cool, man. Well, you've definitely been crushing it. So for anyone who's watching and wants to follow along with you, or maybe they want to even see how they can work with GrowthHub, where should they go?
They should follow me and my co-founder Lorenzo on Twitter. You can go to our website, growthup.agency, and from there you can just see what we do, how we're doing it.
Awesome. You should definitely go check them out. And if you're an agency owner and you're feeling what GrowthHub was feeling and what Bogdan and his team are feeling, where you have this really good growth, but maybe things are super messy behind the scenes, and you want to fix it without burning out, that's what I help agency owners do. And we help agency owners to install operational excellence in their agency so you can scale with less stress and more profit. And you can DM me too if you want to explore it. And thanks again, Bogdan, for coming on. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.